What if I told you God deliberately chose the weakest man from the weakest tribe to fight the most powerful enemy Israel had ever seen? This wasn't a fair fight. This wasn't even a battle. This was domination. The Midianites didn't just attack Israel, they erased it piece by piece. Every harvest was stolen, every resource stripped, every season ended in loss. Israel wasn't living anymore. They were hiding in caves, hiding in mountains, hiding from a fear they could not fight. And then everything shifts. The story doesn't begin on the battlefield. It begins underground with a man hiding, Gideon, not leading, not fighting, not preparing for war, just surviving. He's threshing wheat in a winepress, doing in secret what should be done in the open, because fear has changed how he lives. Because when fear takes over, even purpose starts to shrink. And then a voice breaks the silence. Not distant, not uncertain, direct. The Lord is with you, mighty man of valor. Mighty, this man is hiding. This man is afraid. This man is doing the right thing, in the wrong place, just to stay alive. And yet, he's called mighty, not for who he is, but for who he's about to become. And this is where the story stops making sense. Because if you were choosing a leader, you wouldn't choose him. You would look for strength, confidence, proven ability. But God ignores all of that. He bypasses the warriors, he overlooks the obvious, and he calls a man who doesn't even believe in himself. Why? Why would God choose weakness when strength is available? Why start a deliverance story with a man in hiding? Because this wasn't just about defeating an enemy. This was about exposing a truth most people still don't understand. That sometimes the reason you feel unqualified is because you are exactly who God wants. And if that's true, then everything you think disqualifies you might actually be the reason you were chosen. The moment Gideon hears that voice, he doesn't feel inspired. He pushes back. If the Lord is with us, why has all this happened? That's not rebellion, that's honesty. Because it's hard to believe in purpose when your reality looks like defeat. And then he says something deeper, something most people would never admit out loud. My tribe is the weakest and I am the least in my family. Think about that. He's not just saying, I'm not ready. He's saying, I'm not the one. Weak tribe, weak position, weak identity. He comes from Manasseh, not known for dominance, not known for power, not known for influence. And even inside that tribe, he sees himself at the bottom. This is layered insecurity, the kind that doesn't just question your ability, it questions your worth. And here's where everything shifts. God doesn't correct his weakness. He doesn't argue. He doesn't say, no, you're actually strong. Instead, he speaks something greater. Go in the strength you have. Not the strength you wish you had, not the strength you're trying to build. The strength you have. Which means God was never waiting for Gideon to become more. He was waiting for Gideon to move as he is. And that breaks something in us. Because we've been trained to believe that qualification comes before calling, that you need experience, confidence, recognition before you step into anything meaningful. But God reverses the order. He calls first, then he builds. And Gideon struggles with that. He asks for signs. He tests what he just heard. Not once, but again and again. Because deep down, he cannot reconcile what he sees in himself with what God is saying about him. And if we're honest, neither can we, because you felt it too. That tension, where something in you senses there's more, but everything around you says you're not enough, not ready, not capable, not chosen. And so you hesitate, you delay, you question, you wait to become someone else before you move. But what if that waiting is the very thing holding you back? What if the version of you that feels unqualified is the exact version God intends to use. Because if God only chose the strong, then strength would get the credit. If he only chose the confident, then confidence would take the glory. But when he chooses the weak, when he chooses the overlooked, when he chooses the one who doubts, there's only one explanation left. And that's exactly the point. Because this story is not moving toward a moment of human greatness. It's moving towards something far more uncomfortable. A situation where everything Gideon could rely on is about to be stripped away. And what happens next will make even less sense than this. Finally, something starts to make sense. Gideon gathers an army, 32,000 men. For the first time, the numbers look right. For the first time, this feels possible. Maybe this is how it works. God calls you, you step up, and then he gives you what you need to win. But just as momentum builds, God interrupts. You have too many men. Too many? This is an enemy that has crushed Israel for years. The Midianites are countless, overwhelming, dominant, and God says it's too much. Not because the army is weak, but because it's strong enough to take the credit. So the reduction begins. Whoever is afraid, let him go home. And just like that, thousands walk away. The crowd shrinks. The energy shifts. The confidence drops. What once looked like strength now feels fragile. But it's not over. 10,000 remain. Still enough to fight. Still enough to believe. And then God does it again. Not with logic, not with strategy, but with something strange. A test at the water. Men kneel to drink. Some lower themselves fully, distracted, unaware. Others stay alert, bringing water to their mouths, watching, ready. And from that moment, the number drops again, from 10,000 to 300. 300. Against an army that cannot even be counted. At this point, it doesn't feel like preparation. It feels like loss. Like everything you thought you needed is being taken away. And this is where most people break, because we can handle being called. We can even handle stepping forward. But when things start decreasing, when resources shrink, when support disappears, when the situation gets harder instead of easier, that's when doubt becomes louder than faith. Imagine being Gideon. You started with thousands. Now you're left with almost nothing. No advantage, no backup plan, no explanation, just a promise and a situation that makes no sense. But this is the strategy. Because God is not building an army, he's removing every layer of self-reliance, every number that gives confidence, every option that creates control, until all that remains is dependence. Because if there is another way to win, we will take it. If there is another explanation, we will believe it. So God removes the alternatives, not to weaken you, but to position you. And when he is done, you're left standing in a reality where success is impossible unless he shows up. And that's exactly where this is going. Now it gets worse. Not only is Gideon left with 300 men, they're not even given proper weapons. No swords introduced, no armor advantage, no elite strategy. Instead, clay jars, torches, trumpets. That's it. 300 men facing a massive army with objects that don't belong on a battlefield. At this point, you have to ask, is this even a plan? Or is this surrender? Because nothing about this setup suggests victory. It suggests exposure, vulnerability, defeat. But that's because you're still thinking in human terms. This was never about fighting their way through the enemy. This was about revealing something deeper. The jars were fragile, easily broken, easily dismissed. Just like the men holding them, the torches were hidden inside, covered, unseen, waiting. And the trumpets, they weren't weapons, they were declarations, signals that something was about to happen. And then the moment comes. Silence breaks. The trumpets sound, the jars shatter, and instantly light bursts into the darkness. What was hidden is now exposed. What looked weak now carries power, and suddenly everything shifts. The Midianites, a trained, dominant, overwhelming force, is thrown into chaos. Confusion spreads, fear takes over, order collapses. They turn on each other, not because they were attacked, but because they were disrupted, overwhelmed, not by force, but by what they could not understand. And here's the truth most people miss. The power was never in the jar, it was in what the jar was hiding. But the jar had to break for the light to be seen. And that changes everything, because we spend our lives trying to stay intact, trying to look strong, trying to hold it together, trying to protect the image we've built. But God, He uses broken things, not to discard them, but to reveal what He placed inside them. And in that moment, 300 men with no real weapons become the reason an entire army collapses. Not because they were strong, but because they were positioned. Positioned in a way where their weakness could finally be used. Because sometimes God doesn't increase your strength, He exposes your dependence. And through that, He releases a power that strength alone could never produce. And just like that, it's over. The same enemy that once dominated Israel is now running, scattered, broken, defeated, not by numbers, not by strength, not by strategy, but by something they never saw coming. And now we arrive at the real question. Why did God do it this way? Why choose a man like Gideon? Why reduce the army to almost nothing? Why replace weapons with jars and light? Because if Israel had won with strength, they would have believed the strength was theirs. If they had won with numbers, they would have trusted numbers again. If they had won with skill, they would have built their future on skill. But God was not just giving them victory, He was correcting their foundation. Because the moment you start believing that your success comes from you, you disconnect from the very source that gave it to you. So God removes every alternative, every backup plan, every illusion of control, until the only explanation left is Him. And that is uncomfortable, because we want to feel capable. We want to feel ready. We want to feel like we deserve what we step into. But this story confronts that mindset directly, because it tells you something most people don't want to hear. You don't need to feel ready to be chosen. You don't need to feel strong to be used. You don't even need to believe in yourself fully for God to work through you, and that hits deeper than motivation. Because now the excuse is gone. The idea that I'm not enough no longer disqualifies you. In fact, it aligns you. Think about your life. The areas where you hesitate, the places where you feel exposed, unprepared, overwhelmed. That space right there, that's not where you step back. That's where something is trying to begin. Because throughout this entire story, God was never looking for strength. He was looking for surrender. Not perfection, not confidence, not status, just willingness. And when He found it, even in someone unsure, even in someone afraid, He built something unstoppable. So maybe the question isn't, why would God choose the weak? Maybe the real question is, what if weakness was the requirement all along? Because when God chooses the weak, it's not to expose their limits. It's to reveal His power. And the place you feel least capable might be the exact place where that power is about to show up. If you believe God can use anyone, even you, subscribe and stay connected.